Welcome everybody to another episode of Fins Nation. I'm your host Louis Sung, and today is finally the day. The Miami Dolphins draft is officially over, and we're going to go over the players that were picked in the 2023 NFL draft by these Miami Dolphins. Now, admittedly, what you're about to hear, ladies and gentlemen, is going to be somewhat different than what my initial thoughts were when I originally saw what the picks were. On day 2, when they made their round 2 and round 3 picks, you will remember that if you were keeping an eye on the live stream that we were doing, I was not particularly thrilled with what the Miami Dolphins did with their first pick in the draft. However, with that being said, now that things have had some time and I've reflected on it a little bit more, I think I may have actually changed my mind on this whole thing. And I'm going to go into the reasoning as to why. But before that, really quick, just want to go ahead and mention that this show is brought to you, as always, by You Brake Wheel Fix. You Brake Wheel Fix is the complete automotive wheel solution. Ever parked too close to the sidewalk curb? You Brake Wheel Fix specializes in the repair of damaged wheels from bends, cracks, and curb rash. Or maybe your wheels are faded or peeling. You don't need to replace them, as You Brake Wheel Fix can refinish them to like new. Offering complete refinish options through powder coating, machining, and polishing, You Brake Wheel Fix is the answer to all of your wheel needs. And if you're just looking to give your ride a new look, You Brake Wheel Fix also offers many car customizing options, such as new custom wheels and tires from your favorite brands, performance upgrades, window tinting, and suspension modifications. Located just south of Aventura, you can reach Mark and his staff at 305-748-0112 or online at youbrakewheelfix.com. They are really active on all social media platforms at You Brake Wheel Fix, so shoot them a DM on Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter and get an estimate in just minutes. So don't delay, go to You Brake Wheel Fix and start customizing your ride to show off your Dolphins fandom today. This show is also brought to you by PrizePicks.com. PrizePicks.com is a revolutionary fantasy platform where you can now pick up to 6 different players across professional sports leagues, whether that's the NFL, the NBA, the MLB, one of each. It's totally up to you to decide. Just choose whether your chosen player will get more or less than their projected stat. They give you free squares, special Taco Tuesday promos, Flex Friday specials, so where you can get your money back if you lose or multiply the amount of money you can normally win. So with offers like that, it's hard to justify not signing up. So use the promo code 5, that's FIVE, and they will match up to $100 on your initial deposit when you sign up. Again, that's promo code 5, FIVE. Go to prizepicks.com and start using that promo code to get started winning today. All right, folks, so let's get into this. So obviously the Miami Dolphins, when they made their second round pick, I was honestly a little bit surprised, to say the least. The Miami Dolphins always managed to find some way of just throwing me completely off on whatever it was we were expecting. Obviously, of the options that the Miami Dolphins were expected to make, on the top of that list was the tight end position, and they had their option. Darnell Washington was there for the taking in the second round, and they could have had him easily if they wanted to. But apparently they didn't want him. And what was even crazier was the fact that so many other players were going before Washington was picked. Even Brenton Strange was picked before him, and nobody expected him to go until like the 4th or maybe even the 5th round. So the fact that Sam Laporta went first, Tucker Kraft went first, Brenton Strange went first, all these players went before Darnell Washington. Now, you would think that with all that in mind, the Miami Dolphins would be like, hey, we got our guy, let's go ahead and go and pick him. But no. They didn't go for Darnell Washington. As a matter of fact, they didn't even go for the offensive side of the ball. The thing that got me, and I was so shocked when I saw it, and I was trying so hard to not look at Twitter to make sure that I didn't get my tip picked, because honestly, Twitter is always like 4 picks ahead of the broadcast, because ESPN and NFL Network just love to waste their time with needless commercials. Even if it's not an actual commercial, they're giving commercials for themselves through their own just talking. So it always takes so long for the picks to come through, so I had to wait and see. Meanwhile, I have Hussam Patel of the scouting combine reacting and being like, oh my gosh, I can't believe they just did that. And I'm just looking at it like, dude, you know that we're not supposed to tip picks, right? Now I don't know how I should react, because it sounds like I should be upset. And truth be told, when I saw what the pick was, I was upset at first. And I'm going to go into the reasoning as to why, and why I've kind of changed my mind on the whole thing. So as everybody knows by now, with the 51st overall pick in the 2023 NFL Draft, the Miami Dolphins selected not a tight end, not an offensive line, not even a running back or a wide receiver. No, they drafted Cam Smith, a cornerback out of South Carolina. When I saw that they had picked another cornerback, I was beyond frustrated. I was upset. I was downright livid over the fact that they apparently let go of a need at tight end and at offensive line to go and chase another cornerback. So my mind was thinking in terms of this. Obviously, the Miami Dolphins just traded for Jalen Ramsey. All they had to give up was a 3rd-round pick and Hunter Long to get one of the best cornerbacks in the modern era of the NFL. And obviously they still had Xavier Howard, who is going to be healthy and ready to go to play alongside Jalen Ramsey. So basically, we had Sam Madison and Patrick Surtain reunited once again in the modern era, just like when Byron Jones first showed up, and I was excited about it then, except now it's even stronger. At least that's how I was looking at it. And if you needed reserve help, you still had Kader Kohu, who did a fantastic job as an undrafted free agent out of Texas A&M Commerce. And mind you, this is a kid that nobody had even heard of until he hit the football field. And all of a sudden, we're like, whoa, wait a minute, this kid can play. And he did play, and he played a lot, and he played it well, especially given the circumstances. You come out of nowhere, and suddenly, guess what, kid? You're the starter. And he has to play, and he has to play well if the defense has any hope of actually doing anything. And given everything that went down in 2022, Kader Kohu played pretty much lights out. And I was so excited to see what he could do this next upcoming season, alongside Jalen Ramsey and Xavier Howard, provided that he was going to be playing in the slot. So now, what's the next thing that we're going to be looking at here? So he also had Trill Williams coming back off of his injury. So I figured to myself, okay, so if push comes to shove, we can always count on Trill Williams to come back because this guy has a lot of heart on him. It was tragic the way that he lost his season because of an injury. So I figured he was going to come back stronger than ever because that's what these players tend to do when they have opportunities ripped away from them and they were actually doing a good job. So I was expecting Trill Williams to come back and be like, I'm coming back, folks. And by the way, speaking of players coming back from injury, Nick Needham coming off of his Achilles injury. And hopefully everything is going on well with him. There are some speculations about maybe Nick Needham will not be ready for the season when the time comes. I'm hoping that is not exactly the case. I'm hoping that Nick Needham will be back because I really like the way he plays his game. And you know what? Whenever I have to eat crow on a player, nothing could make me happier because I still remember when Nick Needham was coming out and he was in his rookie season. And I thought to myself, in practice, in training camp, this is one of the worst players I've ever seen play. And he's turned into one heck of a player, all things considered. So I was really hoping to have him back soon. So I thought with all that, why on earth would the Miami Dolphins deem it fit to draft a cornerback of all positions? Well, I made my reaction. I was upset. You may even argue, some might argue anyway, that I made a fool of myself because of how upset I was over the pick. And I laid out all the same reasons that I'm laying out right now. Why would you go and pick a cornerback when you already have some of the best cornerbacks in the current recent years of the NFL, and you just decided, no, we're going to go ahead and draft another cornerback? In my mind, I was thinking, this kid's not going to play. Where is he going to play? The only reason that he would play is if something went horribly wrong and Jalen Ramsey got hurt and Xavier Howard got hurt and Nick Needham got hurt and Kader Kohu got hurt, which would leave pretty much only Cam Smith and the likes of Keon Crossan and Justin Bethel all over again, which granted, I have a lot of respect for Justin Bethel. And I know Keon Crossan is a fantastic special teams player. But I don't want Keon Crossan playing cornerback again because if I have to rely on him and Cam Smith, I feel like this season is already over to begin with because the whole point of the defense is now gone. But since then, I've had some people explain to me, look, that's not what Cam Smith is here to do. Cam Smith is here to be on the boundary. And do you know why he's here to be on the boundary? In my mind, I was like, no, I don't know why he's there to be on the boundary because you have Jalen Ramsey for that. Why don't we want our Patrick Surtain and Sam Madison duo to come back again? And as much as I appreciated the idea of Sam Madison, it was actually a friend of mine, Chad Ronnebaum, who actually does Pulse of Fins Nation with me on occasion. It was actually him who had mentioned that he was looking at a lot of his game film and he saw a lot of Sam Madison in Cam Smith. And I thought to myself, that's interesting. Well, why are you saying Sam Madison specifically? He's physical. He knows where he's supposed to be with the football. He knows where he's supposed to be on assignments. He knows how to play this game. And he's not somebody to sneeze at. A lot of people have a lot of respect for this kid. The idea is that he's a little bit lean. Maybe he's not as sure of a tackler as he thinks he is, because it's not that he's not willing to tackle. It's just that he doesn't wrap up very well. Okay, well, you can coach that out. So now you have Cam Smith. And granted, I don't think they're just going to hand the job to him. I think he's going to have to compete with Kader Kohu for the job because Kohu, after all he went through in 2022, I think he deserves the right to be able to compete and say, you know what, if you're going to move Jalen Ramsey around like a pinball, I'm going to go ahead and try to prove that I belong right here where I played last season. And I would respect the hell out of that. And by the way, Trill Williams is not going away either. And by the way, Nick Needham is not going away either. So we've got ourselves a really good competition. But that leaves, where does Jalen Ramsey go? Okay, so if Jalen Ramsey is not going to be dedicated to being on the outside, I guess that means that Jalen Ramsey is going to be a chess piece on the football field? We had heard reports that Vic Fangio had said that he had basically created a whole new coverage just for everybody else to deal with. So he basically got in his lab and said, I'm going to create a brand new monster that no one has ever seen before. It's alive! It's alive! This defense is alive. And it's all thanks to Jalen Ramsey, I guess. So now the Dolphins have Cam Smith, which frees up Jalen Ramsey to be safety, slot corner. Who knows what else he's going to be doing. Maybe they'll make a whole new position just for him. So we'll see what happens with that situation. I'm actually very intrigued now, so I can understand why the Dolphins would do that. Because if you're not going to park Jalen Ramsey on the boundary, obviously you want somebody who can get the job done really well right next to Xavier Howard, who I sincerely doubt is going to be doing as much roving as Jalen Ramsey. Or maybe they do some roaming. We'll see. I don't think Xavier Howard is very good in the slot. I don't think he ever has been. But if you're going to do something interesting, let's just see what happens. So you have Xavier Howard on one side, at least for now, and now there's a competition for the other job. Cam Smith is certainly capable. I know that Kader Kohu is capable, and after another year of learning, maybe he's even better. I know Trill Williams wants that job. I'm sure that Nick Needham would love that job. So we'll see what happens in training camp. I'm very intrigued now because I kind of want to see what Jalen Ramsey does now that he has the freedom to do whatever he wants. And that was where he did a lot of impact with the Los Angeles Rams. So then the third round comes along, and I think to myself, oh my God, I don't know how it happened, but Darnell Washington is still on the board. This is where the Miami Dolphins pick him, right? Nope, they did not pick him. But at least with this pick, it was a little bit more predictable because we had heard a lot about him being connected to the Miami Dolphins, and I couldn't really be upset about it because I know exactly what it is that he can do with the ball in his hands. So with the 84th pick in the 2023 NFL Draft, the Miami Dolphins selected Devon Achane out of Texas A&M. And for all intents and purposes, he is the fastest player in the NFL draft right now. So he gets picked, and obviously more speed, even more speed. That's all Mike McDaniel wants. He just wants a track meet in the football field. That's what he wants. And he's going to get it because Devon Achane is ridiculously fast. Like every single piece of film you have, it shows him running at the speed of sound. So if you want to have a race now, it's going to have a whole lot of players. I still remember when I wanted to have Jakeem Grant racing against Albert Wilson and those guys. Now you have Tyreek Hill, Devon Achane, Raheem Mostert, and Chosen Anderson, and they're all known for incredible speed that they have. Let's get all those guys in a track meet and see who's the fastest guy. I honestly want to see that more than anything else because if you see what this kid can do with the football, it's going to be scary because all he has to do is catch a pass out of the backfield or just get a one good run through between the tackle and a guard, and he is gone. He's just long gone. And Mike McDaniel was very happy to see him get picked. Like, it's kind of scary how the difference is because you could tell which one was the pick that he wanted and which one was the pick he didn't want. So when the Miami Dolphins selected Cam Smith, you see the video in the background, and he's just kind of on his phone. He's kind of non-reactionary. He's not really particularly thrilled about this pick. Obviously, he's going to say something. He's going to say, hey, man, you ready to play? But he's not, like, this is not his thing. This is not what he cares about. Then as soon as they get Devon Achane, you saw his attitude do a complete 180. Like, he was thrilled to be able to get this guy. And so that was something very interesting that the Miami Dolphins decided to go with running back. So does this eliminate the Dalvin Cook discussion? Me personally, I think it does. I don't think the Miami Dolphins are just going to just cast aside Raheem Mostert and Jeff Wilson after they went out of their way to sign them back. I think that they're just going to go ahead and go into the season with those guys. So Mostert, Wilson, Achane, and Savon Ahmed. I don't think Dalvin Cook comes to Miami now unless the Minnesota Vikings decide that, you know what, they're just going to go ahead and cut him, which I am not particularly convinced is going to happen. So, but if the Miami Dolphins are going to go with those guys, I'm perfectly happy with it. Devon Achane is a fantastic player. Then, of course, we get to round 6. So the Miami Dolphins didn't make any trade-ups or trade-downs or anything like that. They just stood pat and picked whatever they had. So with the 197th pick in the 2023 NFL Draft in round 6, the Miami Dolphins selected Elijah Higgins, a wide receiver out of Stanford. But get this, when it was announced that they were picking him, the Miami Dolphins actually had him announced as a tight end. Okay, so here we go. Another one of these projects. So Elijah Higgins, he's a pretty big dude. He's 6'3". He's listed at the draft profile as being 235 pounds. And granted, have an interesting look at this, if you will. If you kind of look at one of the other players that the Miami Dolphins were looking at, Sam Laporta, who's an actual tight end, he's listed as 6'3", 245 pounds. Elijah Higgins is listed as 6'3", 235 pounds. So literally, there's an only difference here of about 10 pounds. NFL players drop and gain weight on a regular basis. because of how much work they put in. So quite frankly, if they decide that they want to make Elijah Higgins a tight end, which does seem to be the case, he even went ahead and said during the press conference that he had been approached by John Embry about becoming a tight end, and he was all for it. And you know what? If that's what the Miami Dolphins want to do, the body type that he has would be perfect for the tight end position. All he has to do is gain a few more pounds of muscle, and you basically have another tight end. He just has to learn the position, and it's not like he's not willing. So if you can go ahead with Sam Laporta and you're willing to draft him, I don't see why you wouldn't take a bigger wide receiver and go ahead and try to make a tight end out of him. He's basically the same, except for about 10 pounds of muscle, which I'm sure that given time in the weight room, he can go ahead and put on for himself. So very interesting choice by the Dolphins, and if you watch his film, again, I always look to the 3 yards per carry crew to get a quick evaluation, then I go ahead and watch for myself. You take a look at the film that he puts on tape, and Elijah Higgins can play. So making him a tight end really seems like this could be a very interesting idea. And finally, with the 7th round pick, the Miami Dolphins finally selected an offensive tackle. They went with Michigan offensive tackle Ryan Hayes. He does have an athletic pedigree, we will say that. Per his bio, his father, Mike Hayes, played football, and his mother, Sue, is in his school's Hall of Fame as a basketball player. So, hey, you know what? For a bunch of Central Michigan athletes, he just continuing the family line. All things considered, he could be worse. He was projected as a 6th or 7th rounder. He has good technique, which is good, but you know what? If technique is all he has, you know what? That still puts him above Austin Jackson in my book, because Austin Jackson, at least, even though he has elite athleticism, he doesn't know what to do with it. So you have to ask yourself the question, what's better? Having an average athlete who has all the basics down and knows exactly what he's doing, or is it good to have a terrific athlete who doesn't know what he's doing, and then you just kind of struggle to try to teach him everything? One might argue one way or the other. I don't expect Hayes to make a huge impact on this team, but nevertheless, you never know. Maybe just having a guy who just knows his assignments and knows how to do the job properly is really all this team needs. If you put, let's just say for the sake of argument, you put Ryan Hayes right next to Robert Hunt at right guard. All Hayes has to do, in theory, this is all just theoretical and it's all hypothetical. All you have to do is put Ryan Hayes next to Robert Hunt, and if Hayes can just make sure that he keeps his assignments down, he knows what he's doing, he knows how to make sure that he's getting the job done properly, Robert Hunt can fill in the blanks as far as the athleticism goes. It's kind of like when you put somebody next to Teron Armstead, suddenly whoever's next to Armstead looks a whole lot better because Teron Armstead is there to help him out. So that's a big deal. You have Robert Hunt basically doing the same thing for Ryan Hayes or Austin Jackson or whoever it is you want to throw out there. I don't really have a feeling one way or the other about Ryan Hayes. There's a lot of undrafted free agents the Miami Dolphins picked up who a lot of other people have more reactions about, but we shall see what happens. I think I'm going to go ahead and end it here because I went through every single player and I went through what my thoughts were about them. All in all, the Miami Dolphins had a pretty good draft, even though they only had 4 picks. I made my reasons as to why I wasn't a fan of the Cam Smith pick at first, but now that I've had time to think about it, I'm kind of very intrigued to see what they do with the Jalen Ramsey situation, because yes, it's not going to be the same Sam Madison, Patrick Surtain, no-fly zone that we've been used to for all these years as Miami Dolphins fans, being accustomed to having terrific defenses, but even though it's not going to be as traditional as we're used to, I don't think that's going to make it any less scary, because if you look at this team the way that it is on paper, this defense is incredible, and I'm sure that Vic Fangio was very happy to get Cam Smith, and that's probably why Mike McDaniel was just bored, because it's like, nah, that's Vic's pick. And then they got Devon Achane, and now it's like, oh, this is Mike McDaniel's pick, and look how happy he is. So there's so many opportunities for a Swiss Army knife to come in here and just wreck the NFL, and I can't wait to see what happens next. Thank you all so much for listening. If you haven't already done so, go check out You Brake Wheel Fix. They are the complete automotive wheel solution for you. If you need to get your wheels replaced or if you need to get your wheels repaired, they can help you out with that. If you need to get them refinished, if you need to get them powder coating, machining, or polishing to get them looking like new, if you need to get some suspension modifications, performance upgrades, or maybe you just really want your car to look like a Miami Dolphins car, they can help you out. Go to 305-748-0112 to give them a call at You Brake Wheel Fix, or you can go online at youbrakewheelfix.com, shoot them an Instagram, on Facebook or Twitter, and get a whole bunch of different DMs going. Get their attention however you need to, man. You can get an estimate in just minutes, go and make your car look like the ultimate Dolphins fantasy. And of course, head over to prizepicks.com, use the promo code 5, that's FIVE. They will match up to $100 on your initial deposit when you sign up. So basically, use the promo code to sign up, and you put in $100. PrizePicks will literally give you $100 of their money for you to play with, so you can get started on their dime rather than yours. All you have to do is sign up using the promo code. So again, that's prizepicks.com, promo code 5. Get started winning today. That's going to be it for today. Tomorrow, we'll go into some of the undrafted free agents and who's really caught my eye. Until then, we will see you all next time.